Joining us now on the phone line is Atif Latif of Guardian Securities joining us. Hi Atif, good evening here from India in New Delhi. Let me first begin by asking you about those comments made by Angela Merkel, saying that things will remain hard for a long time. The pandemic is still at a beginning. We've only bought time. How do you look at those statements coming in at a time where we still don't have a vaccine and we don't know how long this pain is going to last?
Hi there, good evening. I think that's an interesting observation, what Merkel has said. Things are still bleak in terms of amount of infections and daily reported cases, but one thing we can take comfort on is that there's a couple of pharma and biotech companies now that are actively testing. We think that testing will continue, and even though things are looking quite bleak as per what Angela Merkel said, we do think a vaccine will be forthcoming. I know Roche said yesterday that they think it will be the end of 2021, but the news on Gilead last week suggests that I think towards the latter part of the summer, we should be able to get some testing done that's concrete, that is safe enough to pass on to human testing. And we do think that once that happens, then the market still rebalance again, and then hopefully we'll start to see risk appetite pick up.
Absolutely. And if you look at what's happening in the oil prices, just 2 to 3 days ago, those historic drops, and after that we're seeing oil prices kind of clawing back on hopes that we will see all the producers at least coming to some sort of a consensus on how to manage that oversupply that we're currently seeing in the markets. Having said that, given the fact that there is very little demand so far on account of the massive lockdown, do you think production cuts beyond what we've seen so far is going to help much, Atif?
I think it will do. I think also we've got to bear in mind is that while the oversupply of oil continues, a lot of that will be dictated really by how quickly we can get a vaccine. Once we have a vaccine, once people can start going back to their normal day-to-day business, companies will start bringing people back in, travel will start to increase, not immediately but slowly. I think a lot of that will be supportive to the oil price, but the key question is until that happens, you're exactly right that there's so much oil being produced where the demand is so low. And in the case of the big move on WTI that we saw a couple of days ago for the March contract, there is no demand for it just now. And even to the extent that trading on a negative like-for-like basis, they were paying people to take the oil away. So I think an interesting observation on oil, that it's so volatile just now, and it's something we've not seen before ever. And the oil price was supported a couple of days ago by a bit more demand coming in, but obviously given what Trump said about the tensions in the Middle East, and all these comments are going to give the oil price a short-term boost. But I guess the main constraint is until we get things back to normal, which is still an unknown, the oil price will continue to trade volatile.
In fact, Atif, let me also talk about the fact that if you look at the jobless claim print that has come in today, this is, of course, a decline than the number that we saw the previous week, yet the 4.4 million workers still being out of, the job scene, filing for unemployment also goes on to show that we've almost erased all the gains that we had made since the Great Recession. How do you see the situation panning out, given the fact that there's still no clarity on the reopening of the US economy, even as Donald Trump has been talking about it and making all the noises about it so far?
Yeah, he has. That's a good question, because he's been making noises about individual states looking to reopen, and I think he has the intent for that, but the reality is that I don't think that will happen anytime soon, because if you look at the number of cases that the US has, they're still significantly high on a like-for-like basis against other countries. But if you look at the jobless print today, so there was another 4.4 million, which was slightly better than what was expected, but ultimately it still means that 26 million Americans have lost their jobs, obviously due to the coronavirus, and some estimate that the US unemployment rate has probably moved up to maybe 14-15%. But we do have to accept that a lot of this is transitory, that once I know I'm repeating myself, but a lot of this hinges on how quickly we can get a vaccine and get back to normal. And we think when that does happen, the jobless rate will start to ease down very, very quickly, and the jobless claims numbers will come down. But really, until then, it's just a case of just waiting and seeing and looking at what news is coming out from a lot of these politicians.
All right, on that note, Atif Latif, always a pleasure chatting with you. And as we speak, Dow, in fact, in the positive territory, almost up about 150 odd points, mostly on account of those, the oil prices also clawing back from the lows that we saw a couple of days ago.